Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Bo again, and we're live again for the nighttime version of this. We're going to hang out. We're going to talk about community and survival and all of that other good stuff. Uh, we'll run through some of the stuff that we talked about this morning, um, but we will answer questions and stuff like that too. Let me turn off my phone. Let's see. Hello, everybody. Okay. Round three. Yeah, I guess it is round three because we had a technical error earlier. Uh, oh yeah, I guess I'm saying morning, but it's not necessarily morning for everyone. Scared I'm going to. Well, probably not. Well, let's hope not. The odds are in your favor. There's that. Um, so, all right. This is a controlled demolition of the global economy. It doesn't seem very controlled, but we'll see. Okay, so if you're going to be listening to this on the podcast later, the random stuff that I'm saying, those are comments coming in via live stream chat. And yeah, so bear with that or any breaks that's me reading it because I can't talk and read at the same time. What's on the agenda today? We are going to talk about, well, we're going to talk about a lot of the stuff that we talked about earlier, real quick. We're going to run through that to make sure that everybody has their questions answered about that kind of stuff. Can you do an explanation for mutual aid for 5-year-olds? um, yeah, we can talk about that later. Shelter in place with my piles of knitting. Nice. Well, I'm glad everybody seems to be in good spirits. Trump's a socialist. Absolutely. Everybody's a socialist and a disaster, man. uh, do I think that violent video games contribute to the perceived masculinity of guns, using guns? Uh, Maybe, um, but probably I think I think there's other more important factors. Yes, yes, today is my birthday, and since I can't drink, I'm spending it with you guys. Uh, let's see. Biscuits and gravy. When are we going to talk about biscuits and gravy? We can do that. Okay, so one of the things I want to make sure that we talk about and run through this real quick. I mentioned the U.S. Army Survival Guide a lot when people ask for what book to get if they want to know about this stuff. This is what it looks like for YouTube censor people. This is not copywritten, so if I open it up and show pictures, it's okay. Copywritten is owned by everybody. You can download these for free. There are links floating around where you can get it, and you can download pretty much most military manuals that way. Let's see. Thank you, Jay Graham. Happy birthday, Bo. Do you have any clue if how Cali is going to enforce their new mandate of telling people to stay home? Uh, my guess is they're going to try it with local law enforcement first. If that doesn't work, they may bring in the National Guard to assist in the enforcement of civilian law. The National Guard showing up does not make it martial law, though. Okay, so the reason I recommend this book, and in the UK or wherever else you're watching it, you may need to get your local militaries. Um, it shows you everything that's edible. It shows you how to build shelter. It shows you how to skin animals. It shows you how to, I mean, everything. It's not a complete thing, but if you know this, you'll survive. Um, so let's see. Didn't you mention you had a bottle of Scotland's finest lying around? I've got some decent scotch, but I'm gonna save that for when we're done with this. um, okay, so no shave till next century. That's right. Well, unless I need to start wearing a mask, which is the next thing we're going to talk about real quick, because I'm getting a lot of questions about it. I do not personally think it is time to break this out. Can you tell us where to download it again? You can download that manual if you just Google download U.S. Army field manuals. You'll get tons of results. Archive.org, I think, has it. Um, there's a whole bunch of places. Okay, so gas masks. I don't think we're at this point yet, but people keep asking. This is the most common one on the market. This is Israeli made. This one's a child's, so it's smaller. These are normally 20 to 30 bucks. Right now they're going for about 150 because people are horrible humans and ripping each other off. Over the years, I've tested out a bunch of these for people. I've only found one that had dry rot and wouldn't hold a seal. If you're going to buy one, you have to get it fitted to you. If you don't know how to do that, find your nearest veteran and bring a can of air freshener, and they will do it for you. You want to make sure it fits. If you have a beard like this, it's not going to work. You put on a gas mask with a beard, it's basically a sweater. Um, these come with these filters. All of these that I have ever seen are expired. Um, all the ones that come with these are expired. I've never seen one that was in date. However, you can pick up filters on the civilian market. So there's that. The next question that keeps coming in is how to stock up cheaply. These kits, they have these at big box stores. Normally, they may all be sold out right now, but you can remember this for next time because you will get through this. These are like 20 bucks. It's 48 hours for 4 people. So that's the least uh, expensive way I know to do it. And these things are good for forever. This one expires, it doesn't even expire. It's best by May of 2049. Do you have any specific mask recommendations? I like the civilian ones. 3M makes one called a 6800. There's a bunch of civilian options out there. If you get a civilian one, you can find one that will accept the standard NATO, these type of filters, and the civilian ones that are currently on the market. These they look little squares on the side. Let's see. Thank you, Arash. Hey, brother, happy birthday. What a mess. I didn't know your wife was in healthcare. Yeah, my wife is in healthcare, so we're just hanging out constantly. We are now effectively on quarantine ourselves. Um, question in case things get out of hand: can I install M100? M100 on an MBU? I will get back to you on that. I'll put that on Twitter or in the comment section next time I see you. I don't know. Thank you, G Wolf. Happy birthday. Mine was yesterday. Rebuilding the world from scratch. Mackenzie, thank you. Happy birthday. Okay. Um, so yeah, now something for healthcare workers right now. You're running short on N95s. A lot of people have already switched over to the Bane style half face masks, but you can't find the N95 filters. This is a multi-gas filter, but what matters is it's multi-gas slash vapor slash P100. If the number there is above 95, you're good. Um, it's a different rating system. You can read about it, but I think P means it will handle oily substances as well. Maybe it has a longer service life, something like that. What about woodworking masks? A lot of woodworking masks are N95. They'll be stamped. They will be stamped as N95. If you're talking about the white ones with the rubber band on them, yeah, a lot of those are N95 masks. That's what they're looking for. Uh, how can you tell if N95s are out of date? It, in the situation we're in, I would, if it was me, I would suggest just putting them, the ones that you think are out of date, putting them at the end of your supply because you may need to use them anyway. And even if they're out of date, they'll be better than nothing. Uh, Normally, if they're sealed, when they come, most filters of any kind come sealed. If they're sealed, they're probably still good. As far as N95s, that's not true for gas mask filters. Um, the situational awareness guy, can you do a situational awareness part two, focusing on how it is taught to the military and law enforcement? Yeah, yeah, I get that out. Let's see. I've never commented before, but I've honestly lost trust in our election process. Yeah, I mean, there's that old saying: it's not who votes who counts; it's who counts the votes. But I haven't seen any hard evidence of that yet. It may show up. Make a cover for your mask so you can sterilize the cover. Nice. I like it. Why gas masks? I do not think they're necessary right now, but I've been getting a whole lot of questions about them. And mainly, it's a lot like the N95s before all of this hit, when you could still buy them. The same thing is happening now. These things are not worth 150 bucks. Um, they're just not. They're if you're gonna spend that much, you can get something better on the civilian market. Uh, let's see. Stay home. Don't touch it. Yeah, stay home. Wash your hands. Social distancing. All the stuff we've been talking about. Okay. Yeah. I do not think. Uh, I don't think these are necessary, and I do think it may be overkill. But I don't want to dissuade anybody from taking any kind of precaution. And you can have these anyway. Will the $26 GP5 work? Okay, so the mask probably will. If it seals, it works. Okay, it's really that simple. If it seals, it works. Um, the filters that typically come with the GP5, I would get new ones, and you may need to get an adapter because the Soviets used 30 millimeter, I think, and NATO is 40. So most of the ones you're going to find are 40 millimeter, but they do make adapters that switch from 30 millimeter to 40 millimeter. Um, but yeah, a lot of those, and as far as older filters go, these probably don't have them in it, but some of the older filters have horrible stuff in them because they were concerned about radiation and stuff like that. They weren't worried about you kicking off in 20 years. They were worried about you going right then. So there's a lot of stuff in there you probably don't want to be breathing in anyway. Definitely get new ones. Too many negative waves. You will survive. Yes. Yes. Probably. And just keep that attitude. Um, does China still make the gasket and sills, or did Avon get the? I don't know. Um, Probably Avon, I would guess. I don't know why they. I don't know why that happened to begin with, but um, yeah. Okay, the homeless situation is going to be is going to be pretty severe, I would think, because they don't have any of the normal things that they can fall back on. Not just are there no people around, restaurants aren't going to be open. That's going to be severe. Um, how long until we get to martial law? I don't think we're going to martial law. I did a video on that. Martial law, real martial law, is an incredibly extreme measure. I think you may see National Guard show up and help out, but that's not martial law. Um, Martial law means that the division commander or the company commander, whoever is in charge of that area, is literally the law. Whatever they say goes. Um, I don't see that happening. I would be very surprised if it did. Yeah, just take this one day at a time. Stay at home if you can. Um, let's see. I'm hearing within 72 hours we will be on national lockdown. I haven't heard that. And lockdown is going to mean different things in different areas. If you're in a major city where they're really concerned, you're probably going to have patrols. I mean, out here, it's not really going to be a thing. um, so there's that. One of the other questions, and I had them here, was the discussion about ibuprofen and acetaminophen, is what we call it here. Now I'm drawing a blank on what they call it in Europe. Paracetamol. Uh, so the Europeans have basically said not to use ibuprofen. There's already people saying that that's not true and going back and forth. Whatever, acetaminophen, Tylenol will work. What they're recommending, what we call it acetaminophen here, paracetamol, yeah, paracetamol. Um, it's not that you can't find it; it's that you're asking or you're looking for the wrong name. We just call it acetaminophen here. I know that there's a debate on that as far as whether or not the stuff about ibuprofen is true. As far as I'm concerned, if it's a risk and you have a viable alternative, I wouldn't take the risk. That's just where I'm at. Um, let's see. Okay. Any suggestions for good emergency radio? Are you talking about uh, listening or are you talking about broadcasting? If you're talking about broadcasting, I always liked Baofeng, um, like as far as for something cheap and accessible, because they're manufactured in China. Um, they don't have a lot of the things that govern. They don't have a lot of the features uh, that the FCC would like, which means understand you need a license to use them, and you know don't break the law with them because they have more wattage than they're supposed to, and a whole bunch of other things. Um, Cobra, yeah, Cobra is a good brand if we're still talking about radios. Um, Channel 15 on your CB is very entertaining. Got to go back down to my college, 3 hours away by car to grab some stuff at work. Um, I I don't know that they're going to do much about the interstates just yet because that's going to slow down trucking, and they're not going to want to do that right now. If they have any brains at all, that's going to be one of the last things they do. We don't want to interfere with our transportation right now. And yeah, that is a good point. Ibuprofen is the main one, but this actually applies to all NSAIDs like naproxen, for example, which is basically long-lasting ibuprofen. But it applies to all NSAIDs, which is non-steroid anti-inflammatory. I meant to look that up earlier. Okay, was it EMT in Milwaukee for 10 years. This is a nightmare scenario. Yeah, yeah. This is this is bad. Um, but we'll see how bad soon. We may have been able to flatten the curve. Uh, we don't know. We're not going to know until the surge hits. Right now, everybody's operating under the worst case scenario, and that's what everybody should be doing. But we'll we'll see. We'll see how it works out. Maybe we were good at social distancing. It doesn't appear like we were, but maybe we were. Um, and we'll see. When I'm president, I hope to do streams like this. It's like a fireside chat. Do I foresee looting? No, I mean, you're saying if it goes on long enough. If it goes on long enough, yeah. But I would hope that that doesn't happen. It's not something that I am incredibly concerned about at the moment. It depends on how long it goes on. Um, yeah, Florida spring break. Yes, and Florida man has finally decided to close the beaches. Literally, the mayor from Jaws keeping the beaches open. Um, let's see. We're going to do something on EDC. Yeah, glad you said that because I had completely forgot. A lot of people have been asking about EDC kits because all of a sudden everybody's interested in this stuff with good reason. An EDC kit is everyday carry. This is one that's actually based on mine that TFC gave away years ago. Um, and what it is, the idea is to have something small enough to put in your pocket or your purse or wherever that gives you the basic tools that you need. If you combine this with knowing what's in this, you're going to be all right in most situations. This one has never been opened. It still has the TFC stickers. Um, so these are common things that are in most of them. And you have a little compass. You have string for making snares. You have literally hook, line, and sinker. Um, this is a little multi-tool that also has a flashlight, um, pocket knife, stuff like that in it. There's a whistle. I don't know why. Uh, I mean, I know why. If you're lost, it's a signaling tool and all of that, but it's one that I've never actually seen used anywhere. Fire starters. You can't really see that very well. Just in case, if you ever run across these and you need to use it, it's really just you scrape it and you get a spark. I don't know if that's showing up. That one probably did. Um, and you can use it to start fires. This is a handsaw or garrote. Water purification tablets. That's exactly what it looks like. It's an applicatorless tampon. There's a whole bunch of suggested uses for it. The reason it's in here is because it makes good kindling. You can separate it out. And then a survival card. Has a whole bunch of little different nifty uh, things for hex wrenches and a little saw, stuff to scale fish, all of that stuff. So the idea is if you have something like this, you'll be prepared. And you can use this to help in a worst case scenario. This is more for people who are either extremely prepared and have a bug out bag and have all of that stuff already, and they want something that they can have on them all the time, or it's for those people who would prefer to have the bare minimum they need all in one spot. Either reason is a good reason to have it, in my opinion. Let's see. Thank you, Tammers. Did you hear about Everly Wells site making tests that should be available by Monday the 23rd? I did not. I haven't heard that yet. Um, so you can put these together yourself. Um, and I think they're probably a good idea for most people to have. Now, when you're talking about this, just possessing this doesn't mean anything. You have to have the skills to go with it. So download that book, read the book. Rubber band broke. Um, and remember, when you're talking about survival and you're talking about prepping in general, knowledge weighs nothing. The more skills you have, the more you learn about it, the more ways you learn to do without certain things and improvise it, the less stuff you have to carry. And that's always a good thing. Okay. Can you teach your audience about agorism? I try to leave theory off the channel as much as possible. um, but that may be something that comes up at some point in the practical application Which book? This one, U.S. Army Survival Guide, Field Manual. So FM 2176. There's a bunch of them. G. Wolf, thank you. What happens when the Republicans run to the left of Democrats on this pandemic just to save their own butts in their market? We rejoice and remember it. It is true. Everybody becomes a leftist in an emergency, um, because it is only through cooperation that we get anywhere. Uh, what year is this one? This is from 1970. Uh, um, can you make me a survival kit? I'll pay. There are companies out there that do that. I actually thought about doing this again for Patreon, but they're very time intensive. Wrapping up 1,500 little hooks and sinkers and fishing line. That's a lot of time. I'm going to try to come up with something similar. Um, let's see. The SAS handbook is very good. Is very good. That is definitely. I have it somewhere. That's a good one. And then there's a book, Last Ditch Medicine, which is also very. It's worth having for the absolute worst case scenarios. If you don't have any kind of medical training whatsoever, it you may have to brush up on some basic principles first, but that's invaluable. Um, what book is that again? Last Ditch Medicine, I think, is the name of it. Hang on. Or if you're talking about this one, it is a U.S. Army Survival Guide. You can download them for free. Um, there's no copyright on them, and they give you a really good base of knowledge. Let's see. For some reason, I'm not seeing the book. I'll find the book and put it in the comment section after this, or let it scroll through. I'm sure it'll show up. Um, but okay, I believe in aliens. I think we would be. I think we'd be pretty arrogant to believe we are the only form of intelligent life in the entire universe. Uh, yeah. So my I'm wondering if there's actually filter. If you're talking about the one I think you're talking about, it has the hose coming off the front of it, and if that's 40 millimeter or something that can be adapted to 40 millimeter, maybe, yeah, it might be able to do it. I'm not sure. I'm gonna have to look. Um, let's see. Do I have any fun non-survival book suggestions for the time spent? um, I don't know. I'm one of those people. I read anything. Uh, I like. Lately, I've been on a Bernard. I'm gonna say the name wrong again. Bernard Cornwell. I think Cornwell. Um, kick. He does a lot of historical fiction, um, and those are pretty good. Tim Dorsey's always entertaining. It depends on your humor. If you're looking for fiction, um, and don't forget about LibriVox. LibriVox. It's an app. You can get audiobooks on your phone, uh, or you can actually get. I think they have hard copies too from a similar thing. Um, I am not a fan of that cookbook, to be honest. I've had a little bit of training in things that go boom. There are some critical errors in that book. ones that I would not want to make. So uh, that is not one I recommend. If you're looking for something like that, get an Army field manual. Those are downloadable too, oddly enough. Um, let's see. Since you have a platform, can you please explain that people just need to rethink needs and create new ways to make money selling home, grow, feed, babysitting, shopping for elder without being greedy? Yeah, I mean that's kind of my channel. I mean that's a big part of it. Um, Now's a good time to read some Vonnegut, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. These are all good. Yeah, you have a neighbor who's a police officer talking about this martial law theory. This is an exaggeration. A cop wouldn't know anything about martial law. That's that's the that's the part that like if martial law is enacted, civilian police are literally subservient to military police. They're under subordinate, I guess would be the proper term. They're under them. If martial law is enacted, your cop buddy will find out when the MPs show up and say, "Hey, this is now our command center." Um, it's it's a incredibly extreme measure. Um, if things got out of hand, I could see them doing it on a localized level in really bad situations. But as far as that being like a nationwide thing or even a regional thing, statewide thing, I don't see it. We don't have the troops for it. Is another thing. We literally don't have the manpower to do it. Um, I did a video on this where I break down the numbers of what it would require to enact that nationwide in the United States. We do not have the numbers, even if we bring up all of the National Guard and all of the reservists and bring everybody home from overseas. We don't have the numbers. So I don't foresee that being a real thing. Let's see. How about that's happening? As far as medical units being activated, that they are starting to do that. And those units that specialize in this topic, they're starting to show up. They're starting to be mustered. And I can see that occurring in large numbers. Um, do I think the 3% types are going to jump the gun when the National Guard shows up to help? That's a worry. That's actually why I made that last video. um, the video I made about it, that's why I made it. My concern is that some bio specialists or National Guard showing up to help with infrastructure leads to people thinking that the UN is invading or something. Um, that is my concern, and I really hope it doesn't happen. So, but we'll see. Because I'm 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 watching people lately kind of freak out, and I'm a little concerned, to be honest. And do you know any editions of the film manual with the pictures in color? I think there were some made in the 90s, maybe 80s, that had like a center section that was color. Um, let's see. I'll tell you one of the things that I've heard about recently, and this is as somebody with a big family, this was something that caught my attention. Uh, People who have large families getting yelled at for panic buying when it's just their normal their normal shopping trip. Um, so try to keep that in mind. Any tips on home defense? You live in Italy. Um, I would use sprays um, if they're available there. I'm not sure if they are. Uh, a French helicopter was spotted over the UK and sparked panic. Yeah, of course. Well, I can promise you the French are not going to be invading anybody anytime soon. That's not on their listed to-do list. Um, let's see. Yeah, but the guy that bought thousands in hand sanitizer. Yeah, yeah. I don't have many nice words for him. Uh, Wasp spray. That's not something I would recommend because it can be permanently disabling, and that's probably not something you would want to do, and probably illegal. Um, but there, but wasp spray is probably available, and that should be scary. So definitely don't do that. Thank you, Daniel. Daniel, what does a stay-at-home order mean? Uh, it's going to vary from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. Uh, I think in larger cities, it will be more strictly enforced than out in the country. Um, Again, it has to do with resources. The county that I'm in, I think if they had all the cops on at one time, they might have like 25. So there's no way to actually enforce it out here. In larger cities, they may be a little bit more strict. Thank you, Alden. Home Defense Table Leg Edition. Um, let's see. Now, from what I understand, that guy in Tennessee, I think it was with all the hand sanitizer, he did wind up donating it. But I also think the attorney general kind of made him because Tennessee is one of the states that has laws about that sort of thing. Thank you. Upsilon. Yeah, cops and military will get sick too. That's true. Um, I've got. We were talking about the fact in the earlier live stream that a lot of people who do take emergency preparedness seriously, like very seriously, they've been really validated the last couple of weeks. I got a buddy who had to supply a a local sheriff's department, not this county, but one over, with N95 masks because they didn't have any at all. That's something they should have in their first responder kit, but apparently they didn't have any. So this local prepper supplied them. Sheriff's department has uh, an armored personnel carrier, and everybody has M4s, but they don't have N95 masks. Um, so let's see. What's a skill I find difficult to acquire? Um, I I don't know. I mean, I am a humanities person. A lot of times when my son comes to me with questions about science, unless it's within certain specific fields that I had to study and really had to put effort into, I send him to his mom. um, eh, should medical staff sanitize and reuse PPE? I don't know. I am not. That's going to have to be done on a facility by facility basis. That would be, unless they have the specifically reusable kind. I would really hope that there's another alternative um, because all of that becomes dangerous when you're talking about the thin, and for those watching, PPEs like the protective equipment that you get. If you're talking about the thin plastic stuff, I would be really worried about sanitizing that and how effective it is. Um, but again, that's not my area of expertise, and I would hope, but I would hope there's an alternative. um, but if push comes to shove, you do what you do. I mean, you do whatever you can. I mean, I'm sitting here earlier saying that this is expired, but I still have it. just in case if I ever needed one, this would be the last one I'd use. But it's here for an absolute worst case scenario. Um, let's see. Thank you, Tammers. I bought charcoal masks before this got started. Used to ah, About charcoal masks before this got started to use while flying. My brother is fragile. Would that work to protect me if worn outside? Okay, charcoal filters. It's not. I don't know that it's going to filter down to the level that it would need to. Um, you're looking for N95 or above. So that number 95 would be stamped on it somewhere uh, for it to be effective. But anything is better than nothing. Thank you, Shiny Darko. I'm really interested in a wide variety of topics and going to college soon. How should I narrow it down? This ranges from anthropology to. Okay, so every guidance counselor in the world is going to send me hate mail. But your first 2 years of college, you'll figure it out. Take classes. Um, don't make the experience so much about getting the degree is about learning what you want to learn about. If evolutionary biology is something that you're interested in, you think you may be interested in, take a few classes. You may decide that that's not for you. There was a time when I wanted to be a history teacher, and then I actually spent time around, high school kids. And I didn't want to do that anymore. So, um, have I ever run into any of my viewers? Yeah, a few times. It's it's normal. It's always been a pleasant experience, but sometimes in the beginning, it's a little weird. The strangest was when I was walking out of a bathroom and somebody was like, "Hey, I've been watching you." And I was like, "Well, that's unnerving." It took me a minute to realize what they were saying. Um, and I mean, but it's always been fun. It doesn't happen too often, but it has happened a few times. Uh, let's see. California just got ordered a stay at home. Yeah, that's probably going to happen. I think we're going to see a lot of that, in a lot of major cities specifically. Um, do you think Saudi Arabia is in cahoots with Russia to cause market chaos? No, because it's going to hit their market too. This is way bigger uh, than any one nation. This is going to be a big deal. Uh, so I don't. All of this stuff happened at the same time. You know, the I did a video talk about Humpty Dumpty and kind of explain how it worked in the U.S. A lot of other countries it happened the same way. There were a bunch of factors and they all collided at once, and it brought us to this mess. Um, Thank you, New York Gorilla. Thank you for your continued service, by the way. New York City feeling ominous for a few days. Uh, Much worse than post 9/11. Yeah, I can believe that. I can believe that. The enemy here is different. You know, Eh, in a lot of ways, in September of 2001, we rallied together, and here the enemy is unseen, and it's fear more than anything, and it's hard to rally with somebody when you're afraid to get near them. Um, so let's see. capitalism got us here. Cooperation will get us out. Uh, let's see. At least this creates less jingoism. That's true. Fact. Uh, as a grocery store worker, I never realized how much I would be needed until this whole ordeal happened. Yeah, that's one good thing that is coming out of this. Um, there's been a lot over the last few years, and this has actually gone back since I was a kid. Go to college or you'll have to do that. That doesn't really encourage people to go to college. It encourages people to devalue labor. And in our world, everybody's job is important. We don't have a functioning society if you take away any profession. Things fall apart. It's dominoes. Um, yeah, grocery workers are incredibly important. We need to eat. you but the way our country values labor, it shows that it's not necessarily valued the way it should be. Um, Thank you, John. What are the symptoms? Okay, so what all of the medical people have told me, and I have asked this over and over again, and it is the only question that I get the same answer to from everybody. You have fever, you have cough. The cough creates a sore throat. Um, those you can manage at home. Go to the doc if you have shortness of breath, so difficulty breathing, or you become hard to arouse, meaning hard to wake up. Um, and not just like me when I wake up in the morning and I'm groggy and grumpy, but it becomes difficult for you to come out of your dream state. And you don't wake up the way you normally do. Those are the concerns. Um, and that's the literally it's the only question that I've asked that I get the same answers to. Um, did I already talk about growing a garden? I have not, but yeah, we can talk about that. Grow a garden, absolutely. I'm if you're frequent to this channel, I'm about to say plant fruit trees because they're low maintenance and they produce food. Uh, do you think we should think about boarding windows? No, no. I don't. I'm not worried about civil unrest. I don't see that happening. Um, I mean, it could. It depends on how long this goes on. Um, but at this moment, Uh, I don't. I don't foresee that. Let's see. And okay. So this is something that's coming up a lot. Whether or not to let your fever run. I'm not a doctor. Okay, I am not a doctor. My advice is always, when it comes to medical, anything medical, follow the advice and the directions of the medical professional who is seeing you, because that person knows your case history. Now, there is a very prominent doctor on YouTube, somebody who I watch and look to for advice because it's always pretty good, who is advising to let your fever run within a certain temperature, um, and control it if it gets above that. That's probably what I would do, but I'm not a medical professional. Follow the advice of the medical professionals you are seeing. In the United States, apparently the magic number is 101.4. When it gets above 101.4, they medicate you if you are in a hospital. But so it gives the fever a little bit of room to do what it's supposed to, but they don't let it get too high. They start managing it. Fever also makes you uncomfortable. So that's something that everybody is going to have to determine for themselves. But my advice when it comes to anything like this is always follow the medical advice of the person you're seeing. They know more than anybody on the internet's going to. They have your case history. Uh, thoughts on price gouging during times of crisis. One of I'll tell you this. I laughed. I laughed really, really hard when I found out that somebody who had been taking MREs after Michael, taking them from up here and selling them to people in Panama City who didn't have transportation because the National Guard was giving them away up here. And they were taking them down to Panama City and selling them to people who didn't have transportation. And I loved the fact that somebody just beat him into the ground. I'll be honest. It's not something I would advise, but there is some kind of karmic justice when you try to exploit people like that, and and fate catches up to you. Just smoke and chill. You shouldn't smoke. You shouldn't be smoking right now. Make brownies or whatever it is, but don't smoke. Eat it. Um, let's see. I don't think that postponing an election is something that's going to happen. But and also, so we have continuity of government plans, and Trump doesn't stay president. If we don't have an election, we actually have plans for this. And the last person that I saw that went through and really kind of narrowed it down and followed the procedures all the way down, it's a Senator Leahy, a Democrat, who would become president because the term's for 4 years. It's not until the next election. So anyway, there's a secession of government plan, but if there's no election, Pelosi wouldn't be in office either. There, and it would go down. So I believe it is Senator Leahy who ends up president in that scenario. Uh, Thank you for the birthday wishes, Thomas First. Uh, you see a thing about Mitt Romney having a secret Twitter where he defended himself in flame wars. No, but I mean, that's like the least scandalous thing that I've heard come out of DC in a long time. Um, I believe it's Leahy because that election is at a different time. He's the most senior person, or he becomes the Senate Majority Leader, uh, and because with the elections going out, the Republicans would actually lose the House if there weren't or the Senate if elections weren't held. Um, let's see. Romney had a sock puppet. I need one so I can troll trolls in my comment section. I need to start doing that. Tips on staying active during lockdown. Two things. One, you have to stay physically active. So do your honeydew list, you know, do all the stuff around the house you've been meaning to do. Uh, and then if you can't do that, calisthenics, push-ups, sit-ups, the normal stuff. Um, and then you also need to stay mentally active, and don't just sit around and watch TV or me on YouTube. Um, but let's see. Built a new enclosure for your geckos. That's cool. Has it hit prisons yet? I've seen reports of a couple of guards testing positive, which means probably. Now, one of the things they are doing, Mark Ruffalo, yes, good time to study a foreign language, absolutely. one of the things they are doing in a lot of jails is non-violent offenders. Oh, they're going home. They're just bye, have a nice day because they don't want to deal with it. And I think that's a smart move. Um, painted the ceilings today. That's awesome. Thank you, Shiny Darko. Yeah, I've fixed the gutters on the house that have actually been damaged since Michael. I never got up there and did it. I've done a lot of work around the house in the last few days, and all of which I told my wife, I was like, "Oh, these are all day projects," and I got like six of them done. She's like, "I'm like, oh well, you know, no distractions, I guess." Um, let's see. I did not get a PO box. I've been meaning to, and then like this whole thing happened, and I didn't. I know I have I have somebody who's going to send me shirts that are really really cool, and I want to wear them on the channel, but I haven't got the PO box yet. Uh, do it yourself costs 200,000 hospital visits per year in the UK. I believe it. Your coworkers still think it's a hoax. That's horrible. Can I tweet some pics of my dogs? Yeah, yeah. He's sleeping again. It's funny. People asked about that in the live stream earlier, and he was actually in the exact same spot. My husky is the most lazy dog in the world. uh, let's see. Any book recommendations? Yeah, I mean, I always feel weird. I have, just so y'all know, I actually have a book list on Amazon. There's a Beau with the Fifth Column store. I don't ever promote it because I have some issues with some of the things that Amazon does. I'm very conflicted about it. It was a really easy way to put the book list together, but I once it got time to actually promote it, I'm like, ah, no, never mind. Uh, he isn't lazy. He's waiting for work. That's true. It kind of is. He's He's all right. I mean, but I've got one dog that is like raptor smart, like problem solving smart. And then I have Destro, who is he's sweet. He's a good dog, but he's not what I would call smart. Um, when am I gonna write a book? Maybe now. I mean, I may have time to do it. Let's see. Goodreads is a good site for doing book lists. I will look into that. I thought that was like did quotes. They had like, yeah. I'll take a look. Um, let's see here. All dogs are good. Fact. Fact. Normally, when a dog is bad, people are blaming the wrong end of the leash. Goodreads is owned by Amazon. Really? Is that, are you just messing with me? Have you ever considered braiding your beard? I have before, actually, down the sides. Uh, can you make an effective mask? I mean, if you had the material, yeah, but there's a lot to it. And I'm not even sure what type you're talking about. The answer is the same to both. There's a lot to it because it has to fit right and it has to have the the Viking. It has to fit right and it has to be the right material. It has to seal. Um, what do I think of Lindsey Graham? I don't like very many senior politicians. I think once Goodreads really is owned by Amazon, of course. Um, thank you, Sarah Washington. Braid the beard. Uh, is there any video that I regret making? There's some that I wish I had been more clear on or phrased things a little differently. Um, but I don't think anybody expects me to be, you know, right or completely explain everything that I'm thinking all of the time. So I don't know that I have any that I regret making. Um, but I do wish that I hadn't have played the accent up so much in the beginning because I go back and listen to them now and I'm like, man, I was laying it on thick. Should create a list of PTSD treatments. Uh, yeah. So the best combination that I'm aware of is a substance that's currently not available in Florida, but it's available in Colorado and puppies, dogs. Um, that's the most effective thing that I have seen for people. Um, and I wish that research had about a little sooner. How long have I been growing my beard? I cut it and let it grow and cut it and let it grow. I've had one a very, very, very long time. I'm one of those people that if I were to shave, I would have a beard like this in like maybe a month. Um, I get 5 o'clock shadow at noon. I don't know if it's medically available here. It's not a. This might surprise people. It's not a substance that I use. So don't shave. I'll have nightmares. If you see me shave this, you can assume that things have gotten really bad. um, let's see. Oh, that was another question that came up. As far as those suffering from the toilet paper shortage, yeah, you can use napkins, wipes, all that stuff, but don't flush them. You'll tear up plumbing. If it gets to the treatment center, it may end up having sending a technician down, which puts them at risk. So put it in a bag, throw it outside, seal it up so it doesn't smell. Uh, does PTSD give you any day to day problem? Me, not anymore. Not anymore. Um, uh, yeah, now there there was a time when I would have said no had you asked me then, but looking back, oh yeah, it did. um, do you have any tips for starting something like a commune on 5 acres? It could be done. You'd have to do a food forest real tight. There's a whole bunch of YouTube channels about that specific topic, food forests, and you'd be amazed what you can get out of like an eighth of an acre. um, here we have. And we don't have 5 acres here, and we have apples and pears and nectarines and oranges and lemons and loquat and kumquat. And you can put a lot on 5 acres. Um, let's see. Did y'all see the size of that mosquito that just flew here? It's the size of a pterodactyl. Um, Subscribe to the Washington Post. Is there a certain muscle? Not that I'm aware of. Uh, any books on that food forests? I have one. I think it's called Food Not Lawns or Grow Your Lawn, something like that. But the YouTube videos are much better because you physically get to see how they arrange it, and basically you're gardening by the square inch is what it really boils down to. You're making sure you plant stuff together that uh, complements each other. You know. Thank you, Sandy. Uh, let's see. What do I think is going to change in the U.S. when we get through this? I would hope that people understand that those on the bottom need health care. That people need to have their needs met. Uh, I would hope that that comes out of this. Um, I don't know if it's going to, but that's what I would hope it would come. That's what I hope would come out of it. It's showing a whole lot of people who didn't care about those with no health insurance, that their health insurance doesn't mean anything if the people around them don't have it and they can't get checked and they can't stay healthy. So we're only as safe as the least insured. Yeah. A society is judged by how it treats its less fortunate, least fortunate. Um, Thank you. The worst stuff I've ever done. I'm gonna keep that to myself. Well, I'd have some secrets, right? Um, this is going to be terrible for the homeless. It is. They're going to get hit harder than just about anybody, um, for a whole bunch of reasons. Um, I think that where there's not just are they going to suffer during the lockdown, they're going to suffer because they're not going to get the medical treatment they need. Um, it's going to be really bad for them. Thank you, Lisa. Um, let's see. Let's see. Buy bar soap for food banks. Yeah, that would help a lot. Is that a mural behind me? Oh, yeah. Somebody asked about that in the last live stream. I don't do live streams in the shop because the shop's too far away. The Wi-Fi doesn't really reach. This is a backdrop. I wanted something that was easily noticeable because I look like every other redneck on the internet. So learn to make soap. Go Fight Club. California says it will house all homeless. That would be nice. Oh, it's a lot. Yeah, it is. Yeah. Uh, we headed towards another Great Depression? I don't know. I think we may be going towards a depression. So you have a recession and then depression. A depression really only means a long recession. um, but it really depends on how deep it goes is going to be the concern. Um, we may go into a depression, but it not be a horrible thing. Um, at least not in comparison to what we're thinking. What we have to compare it to. Uh, really concerned or really torn between volunteering at a food bank and trying to stay home and flatten the curve. Yeah, I'm dealing with the same thing. Like I know now I got to stay here. I'm done. I can't do anything more. But no, no, I have not done that. I can't really do any more in the local area, and I need to stay home. But there's also a part of me that I really feel like I should be out doing something. Um, Thank you, John. Uh, should we refrain from handling cash from the store or other sources? Cash is dirty. I mean, money is dirty. I, I mean, but I don't know that it's any. I don't know that it's any more dirty than putting your card in and then touching the keys that everybody else has touched. um, there's a lot of risk at the moment with going out, um, or you can just yeah, iron your cash to sterilize. Okay. Uh, just wash your hands. Yeah, wash your hands constantly. Um, do you think your money is safe in the banks? Um, yeah, I do. I d- so it's insured, and at the moment, we need to remember that if a lot of the stuff that is protecting us right now has nothing to do with protecting us, it has to do with protecting the wealthy. Do you think the U.S. government is going to let the super wealthy lose their money in a bank? Probably not. So that helps us in that regard. Let's see. Right. That's William Logan. That's a really good point. We are the stock market is back where it was in 2016. Um, it's not to downplay the losses that people suffered. Yeah, people suffered losses. Um, but we're not collapsing at the moment. It's a crash. It's not the end of society. Um, invest in gold. Would have been a good time to invest in gold a while ago. Now it's going to be high, I would assume. That's normally how it works. Maybe silver, maybe silver. Uh, yeah, Trump. Everybody said the entire time that Trump was making a huge mistake by taking credit for the economy because he didn't really do it. It was a continuation of the same trend that started under the previous administration. Aside from that, you if you take credit for it when it's good, you have to accept responsibility for it when it goes bad. I mean, normal humans do. Trump will find a way to talk his way out of it. Um, Two senators sold stocks after private coronavirus. Yeah, they're going to jail. that is the very definition of insider trading. Right. The stock market is a poor indicator for the middle and poor. Yeah. I don't judge the economy by the stock market. And the fact is, we were in a good place. If we just shut down and then come back, it, we should pop back pretty quickly. Um, that's I think the longer they delay, the worse it's going to get. And I think the end result here is needing to shut down for 21 days, 30 days, something like that. A $1.5 million sell off. Wow. Wow. Yeah. That's and I'm assuming this is now public now. But gu- guillotines. What kind of music do you like? I like all music. Everybody says that. No, I really do. Uh, and I have no shame with it. I will listen to Steve Earle and then Britney Spears. I do not care. Um, and then, okay, so another question I was getting today was when we're doing the next movie live stream. I'm not sure. Um, might do one tonight. And then there's a thing on Netflix. There's a extension for Google Chrome that allows everybody to be in a chat together rather than me live streaming and talking throughout the whole movie. There would be a chat going on. So you guys let me know what rapper do I enjoy. Um, MIA, uh, Snow the Product, DMX, Brother Ali, stuff like the more political stuff mostly. Um, what's my favorite album of all time? I do not have one. I really don't. I'm not a big Pink Floyd guy. Um, oh yeah, Rage of course. Rage of course. Uh, it's doing that thing where it's just running through a whole bunch of comments at once. Ramones, Aerosmith, yeah. Like they're you forgot MIA existed. Oh man, that's that's horrifying. Um, yeah, I like Leonard Cohen as well. In fact, there's some of my videos where you will hear lines from his songs in it. Um, yeah, it's not that I dislike Pink Floyd, but I don't love them. Uh, Miles Davis, Immortal Technique. Yeah, yeah. I'm not joking when I say I listen to pretty much no FX. Yeah. When I listen to pretty much everything. Um, or ANCAPs, just right wingers who hang out with the cool kids. My my thought on that is after talking to a whole lot of them who describe themselves as ANCAPs, most aren't. Most are mutualists who have never read any theory. Uh, they don't know what they are. Now there are a group of ANCAPs who are really just looking to carve out their own little fiefdom, but most I have found, if you actually sit down and talk to them, they they want the market to address social issues, but they actually genuinely do want the market to address the social issues. It's not just a cop out. Um, Now some are, except for I'm not even saying her name. Yeah, that would be a good example of somebody who wants to hang out with the cool kids. Um, Netflix Party is the name um, of that. So I'm going to try to get that stuff installed and see how that works out. Yeah, there are times when I see when I watch people talk about ANCAPs, I almost feel bad for 'em. Like, man. Um, oh yeah, there are a lot that are crypto fash, a lot. And we're losing part of the audience here who's like, what are they saying? I had somebody ask me about the color codes that I used the other day. um, but why did YouTube unsubscribe you from the channel? It's happened. I've had a lot of people say that. I think it has to do with interaction. I think if you don't interact enough, they unsubscribe you. I don't know. I'm not really sure how that works. Have you ever considered starting a Discord server for the channel? We have one. That is like the only Patreon like exclusive thing that we have. I don't want to put any content behind a paywall, so it's been really hard for me to come up with stuff for the people who are contributing, who are the people who allow a whole lot of stuff to happen behind the scenes. Um, so thank you, Sarah. What was that? Thought I just saw like a serious question. Uh, Everyone is saying the actions we take now will be saving lives later. Will we all be laying a ton of judgment upon each other and those in power after the pandemic? Oh yeah, absolutely. Um, that's why I'm not too concerned about the bumps that Trump is getting, and he's taking his victory laps and everything. Because at the end of the day, this is going to come out. A lot of the stuff that he didn't do initially is going to come out. And again, a lot of this is planned. We've had these plans for a very, very long time. Um, and thank you, Cloud Minded. Uh, the next epic rap battle should be Emma Goldman versus. I would die. That would be fantastic. I'd love that. Thank you, Sandy. Have you done much traveling overseas? Yeah, yeah, um, yeah, a lot. Doy B. Radcliffe. Um, okay, so here's a funny thing. I have never said the A word on this channel. I've never said it. And thank you, Combustible. Um, and well, I'm familiar with Killer Mike. Um, yeah, I actually I talk about the ideas and I talk about the principles so much so that people are surprised at times when they realize you can go through however many 600 videos there are. You won't find that word. I don't say it because there are a whole lot of people. No, it's not about monetization. There's a whole lot of people who are afraid of that word. they hear that word and they associate it with chaos and riots. A lot of Americans really don't know that there's a very developed philosophy behind it, and it's not might makes right, um, which is what it has kind of become synonymous with in the U.S. So I just avoid the word. Um, if you sit there and you talk about it and you talk about the ideas, most people in the U.S. are like, yeah, especially those in the South, because that's kind of how we're brought up. And but when you say that word, all of a sudden people get a little unnerved by it. Uh, let's see. Yeah, socialism is another word. It's not quite as bad though. It doesn't have quite as bad a rap. Um, yeah, anarchy. Mad Max is the first thing that people think of. So thank you, Monica. We won't know if we overreacted, but we will know if we underreacted. It will be apparent, but too late. Yeah. Um, I did just say, didn't I? I'm not joking. I will have Carrie edit that out. Um, the yeah, if and that's the thing. If we have successfully flattened the curve and we don't see a huge surge, there's going to be a whole bunch of people running around saying, "Oh, see, we told you it was a hoax," blah 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 blah, and they're only going to be alive because we did it. But I I don't think that we started soon enough. So I don't think that's going to be an issue. Um, no, the A word is not America. That's fantastic. Um, yeah, it is a lot like vaccines in that regard. We are underprepared. We are, and I do believe that we underreacted, and I think we're going to see that pretty quickly. Um, I'm trying to keep track, but now that I'm not leaving, I'm losing track of the days. Um, I think we're only 4 days out, 5 days out from when the surge of cases is supposed to hit. So we'll know then. Um, Bernie should have called himself a social democrat. Yes, he should have. Absolutely, absolutely. Not just because avoiding the word, but also because that's what he really is. Like as far as his policies go. I should watch Gremlins too. uh, the bots are here. It's okay this time. We have a mod that can help that because man, that was killing me earlier. If Bernie was smart, he would have called himself a Nordic capitalist. Nice. Do I avoid swearing in real life or just on the video? uh, yeah, no, I'm an ex-contractor. I cuss all the time. I just don't do it in videos. There are times when I don't feel that it's appropriate. I don't do it in public. I do it among. I talk. I tend to only talk that way um, around other people from that community. Um, yeah, and I do. I try to keep it family friendly on this channel as much as humanly possible, given the topics that we discuss. Um, Song of the South lyrics randomly appear in the comment section. Uh, let's see. When's the video about contracting? Probably never. That's that's a topic that comes up a lot. People ask about it. I don't want to encourage people to go do it. Is what it really boils down to. So I get a lot of questions about that in messages, and I try not to answer or give as vague answers as possible about how to get started doing that, and it's because it all sounds good until later, you know. So, how many deaths are expected? The numbers that I have seen have run from 200,000 to 6 million. The models, it all depends on how well we flatten the curve and how well we keep it contained. I mean, that's what it boils down to. Um, let's see. Shelter in place now. Ah, man, that looked like a good question, and I lost it. Something about California getting. Oh, there it is. Oh, and it's gone again. Here we go. All of California is shelter in place now. Newsom said he has the ability of martial law. How would he enforce it? How likely is it? What exactly does it mean? I heard that. Um, I'm fairly certain he's talking about having the National Guard come out and enforce the current laws on the books. That's not martial law. That's a state of emergency in which the National Guard is activated. Declaring martial law is a huge thing. That means all laws as you know them, they don't matter. What matters is whatever the commander of the military in your area says, that's the law. And he can change it, she can change it at whim. That is a crazy step. And we have a whole lot of alternatives to that. I don't see that being used. Um, I've answered that way before, flashy pause. I've told people that, but then they get all mad. So, degree in construction management. Um, do you think we can take advantage of this disruption to the status quo to advance the A word? Absolutely. All of these community level networks that are occurring right now, yeah, that's we just need to keep them in place. We need to keep them in place. We need to work to get it to stay in place. How do you get through to friends who aren't taking this seriously? I don't know. I don't know. I've got a couple. I've got a couple that um, that still just aren't getting it. Oh, it's the flu. It's the flu. There's only so far you can go. Um, DH Doctor. Thanks for the vids. They're comforting. Any advice on dealing with being a progressive in a conservative area? People ignore fact and love Trump here. It is what it is. I would try to appeal to what they feel are their core beliefs, because the reality is Trump doesn't. His actions don't appeal to what most conservatives believe. If if they would focus on his actions rather than his rhetoric and quote owning the libs, they'd hate him. I don't know how to get people to do that though, to be honest. If I did, I'd I'd be out doing that. Um, March babies will definitely be a thing. Uh, we are 10 days behind Italy. Alcohol. No, no, don't drink right now. No, it hurts your immune system. Um, Now, if that was about actually using it to clean with, yeah, it does. In fact, the hand sanitizer that the hand sanitizer, most of that is alcohol. Um, if I had to put a label on my political beliefs, what would it be? The A word without adjectives would be how I describe myself. No, I'm definitely not saying to drink hand sanitizer. uh, have you ever done any home brewing? Only in states where it's legal. Uh, let's see. I don't think that people need to pull their money out of the bank. I mean, you should always have some cash on hand, um, but I don't see the banks going down. Your money's insured. If the banks go down, the last thing you're going to have to worry about is not having cash. um, if the banks go down, that cash is going to be worthless anyway. Uh, love to hear your thoughts on those who were in grade school in September. What today's real? I don't know. I don't have a lot of experience with that. I don't know many people who were in grade school then. Um, I think that they're probably handling it better than most. Um, I think that may be part of the reason why we aren't getting the right response from those who were born after. They're not taking it seriously. I think maybe because they haven't experienced real traumatic events yet. Um, airway clearance. When will sports come back? I don't know. Um, considering the situation, is your wife okay? Stressed, stressed. Um, but I mean, it's what she signed up for. You know, she's stressed, but at the same time, she's one of those. She lives for it. It's weird. Sports will, of course, come back. Yeah, at some point. Brick and mortar schools are history. Maybe, maybe. Um, I know that Florida right now is trying to work out a way to do everything online. And if that's the case, and they're able to do that, and they're do it successfully, I don't see that why they would bring back the overhead. Um, let's see. Yes, she's definitely in her element. This is, the I trained for this, type of thing. Um, Thoughts on Florida beaches becoming hot spots? They probably did. They probably were. They're closing them now. They are shutting them down now. Um, a lot of uptick in anti-anxiety meds. I can definitely believe that. I could see that coming. Um, Break down the trash bag technique. Oh, yeah. I was actually told I did not explain that well. Okay, so a solar shower it's literally a bag. Thank you, Upsilon. Isn't funny that getting the one fever is in global warming. The planet is responding like a human body. Yeah. Um, so the a solar shower, it's literally a black bag, um, sometimes clear on one side, that holds water. The black absorbs the heat from the sun, warms the water on the inside. So if you have like a yard, the black trash bags that are for your yard, you can use those. You just fill it up halfway and hang it in the sun. It will heat the water. Um, this works better in places where it's warm, obviously. I know that there is up north, it's still pretty cold. So, and then, wow, man, that comment section is getting awfully subversive real quick. uh, and then to get the water to come out, you just poke a hole in it at the bottom, and it will come out. You have warm running water, and then you can just wait for the bag, wait for all the water to come out of the bag. You can tie it and use the trash bag as trash bag, and then get another bag to set up the next shower. Sorry. Um, Anti-vaxxers have gone quiet. Mm, yeah. Dat kan niet много. Do I have a curtain and soap for the solar? I do. Yeah. Um, you think there will be a medicine shortage? Depending on what kind of medicine you're talking about. It's going to take a while to ramp up production for some of this stuff. Like there already is a shortage for some of it. But again, if we, e- as long as everybody stays calm and the government even responds in a semi-decent manner, a lot of these problems should work themselves out pretty quickly. The key thing here is for us staying calm. Uh, why don't I post on the other channel anymore? Oh, well, there's some news. That's actually going to be revamped, pretty much completely. So it's going to come back online in theory. We'll see. Um, and, uh, and that's going to come back as more. Well, I'm not going to tell you. It's going to be a surprise. Um, but that channel will be coming back online. This started. If, well, I mean, everybody knows that. I think by now. This me coming out, so to speak, as Southern and letting people know that this is where I'm from and this is how I am. It started as a joke. That's why it was on a separate channel. um, yeah, I coughed. Now, man, I don't want to be in a zombie movie with you guys. Yeah, y'all put me down quick. Oh yeah, the joke definitely was on me. Like it was very much a surprise. It was supposed to be, a gag for my core readers, and then, but I mean, I'll be honest, I'm much happier now doing this. You know, so where am I from? I grew up on the Tennessee Kentucky line, and then lived all over the South. I have not seen a Shaun of the Dead parody yet. I'm gonna have to look for that. Do you think that we should sanitize our currency? I mean, yeah. I mean, well, take all the precautions that you can right now. That's do I say all y'all sometimes? Um, let's see. I enjoyed the MRAP article. Yeah, that's one of mine. That one went big. Got a lot of yeah. That was one that Infowars actually picked up and put on their website. It's like, oh man, take that down, please. Um, let's see. I think there will be a ban on sales of firearm and ammo. There already is in some areas. I think that they're already shutting that down. Um, I don't. I don't know that it's going to matter. To be honest, I think that we're going to end up staying at home a lot, and then that should remove the concern that people have if everybody follows it. Um, I want to join a folk punk band. uh, I don't have time for any more projects. I barely have time for the projects I have. Right. I'm saying right. Didn't read the question. You didn't want to start a folk punk band anyway. Nice. I don't think there's going to be a military lockdown. Man, that question's coming up a lot. Well, hopefully that'll make people stay home. Um, for it to get to that point, people have got to be acting really stupid. I mean, otherwise, I don't see that being enacted unless people are being really, really dumb and out doing very, very dumb things. Um, oops, I did it again. Great. Do I think we'll ever know the true number of no, I don't think we'll ever know the true number. Uh, yeah, that's right. Outside, get in the tent. Uh, Thank you, Uncle Dut. Yeah, yeah, it is a dry cough. I've had it a couple days. Uh, uh, is there any reason to believe that China is underreporting their numbers now? I don't think so. I I don't I don't see the benefit to them from it. Uh, so I think that the numbers we're getting from them are probably going to be pretty accurate. Um, uh, and I think they also understand that the rest of the world is kind of counting on their numbers to gauge everything by. Um, and you know, I I don't think that they would lead the entire world astray over that. What's my plan? If I can ride it out, probably still keep doing what I'm doing. Um, it is what it is. If um, it's gonna happen, that's one of those things that people need to be prepared for. If the numbers hit the high end and things go really bad, there will be people that Um, I mean, and there's nothing you can do about it. You can't freak out over it because you especially don't want to do that because stress will lower your immune system. So, um, I do not think we're getting the real numbers from Russia. Um, Mobile hospitals, from what I understand, there's actually one being set up in Washington now. They're gonna happen. And again, it, right now we're kind of heading into those um, the more difficult scenarios. I mean, a lot of this is going to happen, and we should probably get ready for it psychologically. Um, You know, realistically, if those numbers hold true, one person in this chat won't make it. That's where we're at. Um, so, but we can't allow that to, completely govern us. We can't allow that to destroy who we are. We can't let the fear get that strong. Um, let's see. One person will make it, and I'm already coughing. Yeah, thanks. um, let's see. Start taking calls. All right. So I'm going to take a little bit of a break. I'm probably going to one person in the chat. It could be you. Dun dun dun. No, the idea is not to have any fear from that. Just it is what it is, guys. Um, okay, so I'm going to take a quick break. We're probably going to do one of the live streams for a movie later. Um, I haven't really decided what movie, so y'all can throw in your suggestions real quick. Uh, for the record, Bo could have allergies, or I could be somebody who smokes like 2 packs a day. Could be that too. Um, but let's see. Shaun of the Dead. I guess it's not on Netflix, so I'll try to find something on Netflix and 28 days. Man, uh, thank you, Josh, and we'll go from there. Okay, idiocracy. Okay, so most people are looking for something fun. All right. Well, I guess I will see you guys in a little bit. Y'all have a good night. Try to stay try to stay calm. Star Trek, something hopeful for the future. I like that too. All right. I'll talk to y'all later.